Hello, welcome everybody. I'm going to give everybody just a minute to get in and then we will get started this evening. While everyone's joining us, feel free to drop in the chat where you're coming from this evening. I see some familiar names. Oh, the A team. We're being referred to as the A team. I like that. Angela and Amy. And of course, Angie. We'll make you part of the A team. All right. So excited to have everyone here tonight. All right. Well, while everyone's joining, I'll just start by introducing myself. I'm Amy O'Grady. I'm the Executive Director with Women in HVACR, and I'm so excited to share this month's episode of Behind the Title. We have Angela Rubino Hines. She is going to be sharing her story tonight. But before I go too far, I just want to remind you that the initiative of Behind the Title, hold on one second. We just have to fix something in one moment. There we go. But just as a reminder, Behind the Title is part of Women in HVACR's commitment to really bring women contractors to the head of the table. Our vision at Women in HVACR is to celebrate more and more women making moves in our industry. So your title doesn't define you, but your journey does. So let's go behind the title and get to know Angela a little bit more. So I know a few things about Angela I can share with you before I hand it over to her. Angela has decades of experience in the HVAC field. She holds a New Jersey's master license in HVAC, and she also has an MBA in marketing from Drexel. She blends her expertise with strategic business acumen. And she has earned 14 Career President's Awards and has also been recognized by the news as a top woman in HVACR. But I could just keep going on and on about Angela, but I want you to hear directly from her story. So, Angela, tell us a little bit more about yourself before we get started tonight.
Hi, everyone. My name is Angela Rubino Hines, as Amy said. I'm owner of Bovio Rubino Service, and I'm very excited to be here tonight. I got started in the business basically from birth. My father started the business out of our home, and so that's how I learned HVAC. So someone in the other behind the title said is HVAC is something that happens to you. So yes, it happened to me. I grew up in the business and, working in the summertime, I was answering phones, dispatching technicians, and it wasn't like today. It was literally like, calling people's houses and seeing where the technician was, writing the schedule down on a piece of paper. I was typing the customer note files on a typewriter and filing file cards. I also converted my dad's system over to a CRM on computers in the early 90s or the mid 90s. I learned to do that and I put them on computers. So I like really grew up in the business. It was in our home. So when I say like I grew up in it, like we had service technicians in the house. Equipment in the garage. My dad was a knocker. That's how he got started. So we had a sheet metal shop in our basement. So he would sell the jobs, then he'd bend the metal, install them. So it was all in there. And then in the late 80s, he built a building and moved the business out of the house. After I graduated high school, I went to college, like Amy said, and I went to Drexel and I got my MBA there. I did not work inside the industry afterwards. I did work for other companies outside the industry for quite some time. It was the plan for me to eventually come back into the business, and my dad and I spoke about how that would work and transition. So that was my story beforehand. So then how did I get back into the business? So as I said, like he was trying to do a succession plan. Like, where am I going to take this business when I want to eventually retire? And I really thought about it. what did I want to do? And I was really tired of working for a big corporation and just being a number. I didn't feel valued, and I felt like I had a lot to give. And I also took a look at who I am in the business, and it's really a part of me. When you grow up with something like that, it's really hard to like see somebody else take it, right? Especially when your name's on the truck. Like when you see your truck go by and it says Rubino on it, I'm like, that's me. Like that's my name. I don't want to sell my name, you know? So I decided that I would come back into the business. So the way I got back in was an unfortunate situation. My father had a massive stroke. I was 27 years old. I was not working in the business. So I quit my job at the time and I just came back in and took over the business. He was disabled. He could not come back in. It was my parents' only source of income. So I had to do it. So that's how I came back into the business and how I got here today. So that's like the backstory of that.
Yeah. Well, thanks so much for sharing that. I know that that transition, while it was probably not something, well, we know it was not planned. Um, it's just something that, you just jumped right in and filled that gap for a family. And a lot of family in this industry have planned sometimes ahead of that, and then sometimes these surprises happen. So it's so great that you were able to make that transition and then still be part of it. But I know that was clearly a challenge, but starting in your career, 14 Carrier President's Awards, that is a very successful accomplishment. But we know it doesn't start there, right? So, what was another big challenge that you faced in the industry when you were just getting started?
Really, that transition back into the business was the biggest challenge. Again, I said I was 27 years old. I came into a business unexpectedly, right? So there was no smooth transition. There was no, I was there. It was one day I wasn't, one day I was, and one day my father wasn't there. And I'm a very different person than he is. And so our leadership skills were very different as well. So really the challenge was getting people to follow me, listen to me, uh, not to think I was still everyone. Who is she? She's young. She doesn't know anything. The employees were upset about the whole situation. So it was a huge challenge and it was a huge undertaking. It was very stressful. So that was my biggest challenge I've ever had to overcome. I've had to overcome a lot of challenges since then, but really keeping that business afloat, knowing nothing with no support. I mean, that business at the time was five service technicians and installers. They did both, two office personnel and one salesman. So it was a really small business to have to learn and continue to grow it.
Yeah. And now different states have different laws as far as like your business license or your contractor's license. I know you have a master's HVAC license in New Jersey, but I'm curious, when I got my contractor's license, I was able to go at my own pace because my father was, still active with his license and I was, just in that transition. So the pressure wasn't there to get it quickly, which I really enjoyed. But I'm curious to hear from you. Is that something that you had to do quickly in a transition like this, or did you have time since you weren't from the industry before?
So that's a really good question. And in New Jersey at the time, there was no HVAC license. Anybody could do HVAC. So I didn't have to do that at the time. However, they did pass a law that you would need to have an HVAC license in order to continue to operate your business. And after I had already been in the business, and I was part of, so what we did, so New Jersey had New Jersey ACCA, and that was for North Jersey. There was no chapter in South Jersey. So myself and a couple other contractors helped unite a whole state organization for ACA to able to support the HVAC license because they were trying to pass this bill, which did pass, so you have to have your license, but it was non-HVAC people making laws for HVAC people. So we were really advocating to make sure this license was in place properly, that it protected us as contractors and didn't make us do all these silly things that we shouldn't need to do and just let anybody in either. So I worked really hard putting that organization together, helping pass different legislation for it. And because I had worked in the industry for so long, I was able to grandfather it in at the time. But do have to do continuing education credits in order to keep my license at this point.
That's wonderful. It's so important, even for everyone listening, organizations like Women in HVACR and ACA and anything in your local towns. It's so wonderful to be part of the conversations that happen in your local municipalities because you never know like who's really leading those laws or making those changes, and it might not be applicable for what the work environment really entails. So I love that that is part of your story. And, in your transition back into the industry with your family's business, you can often be, misunderstood, or like you said, your leadership style is very different from your father. Have you had a situation in that or at a different time in your career within the company that you've had to handle being or underestimated or misunderstood?
Always. And it has not changed at all. It is always me. It's really hard being seen, being heard, being respected as a woman in this industry. From, sales people or vendors coming into the office, and I happen to be walking by the front door, and they'll say to me, "Oh, is the owner in? Can I talk to him?" And I'm just like, "No, he's not available." Right? Or I go to trade shows with my managers, and the vendors will talk to my managers, not me, while I'm the decision maker, right? So being again overlooked, underestimated. I had a customer recently come in who wanted to talk to the owner. So I came out and I started talking to him. He wanted to go over an invoice from a competitor and what we saw, and he wanted to, understand it. And I said, I'd be happy to sit down. And I started explaining it to him. And he said, he literally said to me, I think I do better with the service manager. I think you should go get him. So I bit my tongue and I went and got my service manager and I brought him out, and he explained everything that I explained, but just because I guess he was a man, he explained it to him, and the customer's fine. He left, and the funniest part of the story is that my service manager came from the plumbing trade. So he's a plumber by trade, not an HVAC tech. But it's really that underestimating that I didn't know what I was talking about, right? Like I didn't know the answer to the question. Those types of examples over and over again. Or when people ask me what I do for a living, and I tell them I'm an HVAC business, and the next question is, well, what does your husband do in the business? And it's just like, wow, like I wonder how many times when people ask my husband what he does, they answer next is, well, was your wife in the business too, right? Like nobody asked that opposite question. And no, my husband is not in the business. It's just me. I run everything. So that you're constantly just underestimated and just like passed over, and has not changed that much over the years. So what it really does for me is it just drives me. Before it used to upset me. I used to get like really, really angry over it. And like, I can't believe people think this. So it drove me to work harder. Now I just don't get angry because I know how hard I worked, and my success really is just to go show for itself, right? We're like one of the largest privately owned companies in South Jersey at this point, and that's because of my hard work and because I was underestimated, right? Because I wanted to prove like I could do this. I don't need a man. I could do this on my own, and I saw this and she put in here. Yeah, it happens to you all the time. Yeah, I know. It's crazy, right? Like all the time. You would really think things would change and they don't.
Yeah, it's definitely a narrative that we've discussed before in this group that, sometimes you might change the perspective of the person by just being yourself and using your history and your expertise. And sometimes you can't change that, and really just using kind of that energy in a positive way instead of a negative way to really let it drive you because you know what you've put into it and who you are at the end of the day. And sometimes you're not going to change that, but keep showing up and doing the right thing is
Yeah.
a great motto to have. But yeah, Anne said she definitely related to that. And then Jennifer's saying that she has been there.
Yeah,
Proving them wrong is a
proving
great,
them wrong. It is, you know. And I've learned from myself that I have to do it for myself, right? It's important. And
yeah,
not worry about other people's opinions. I will say that out of all of this that's going on, right, and everyone's saying that yes, that they've had the same experience, they hear it, they see it. One positive thing I could say is I was interviewed for a podcast about 6 months ago. It was a young man. He asked to interview me. He's probably just graduated college, so maybe he's 22, 23, and the whole interview was great. And I just found it very interesting when he interviewed me. He didn't ask one single question about me being a woman in HVAC. He was more about what's my company? How do I drive business? How am I as a leader? And I found it interesting because usually when people interview me, they're like, oh, how is it to be a woman in HVAC? And he didn't ask that question. And it kind of made me feel great because he didn't see me as a woman leader. He just saw me as a leader. And
yeah, that is.
I thought that was really powerful because you're looking at the new generation coming up and are they starting to see things a little bit different?
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that sentiment. And I know that you're a mother because I see the photo behind you. I think of that often with raising two sons, that they've seen their mother in this role their whole life. So for them, there's a whole new world of opportunity of what women in different careers looks like. And
Mhm.
so, a world of opportunity that is before, maybe because we didn't have representation, it could have changed their whole perspective or how they communicated with someone about a different topic. So I love that was your case with that interview. And it gives us such hope that we're moving the needle in a
A
progressive.
little bit, yes. Yeah.
I love that. Well, talking about seeing things change, what in this industry are you really excited about innovation wise? That's, a trend or something that possibly is coming in the future that you really think would be interesting or exciting for this industry?
Right now, it's a trend that I feel like I'm starting to see. When I was younger, you have to go to college, you have to go to college. It's all everybody talks about. Is everybody going to college, right? And now I'm starting to see the trend starting to change, that people are starting to talk about trade schools more because college isn't for everyone. And it's so expensive. It's like ridiculously expensive. And then you're coming out, you're spending, 90 grand a year for college and you're only making like 30, 40 grand a year to start. You're starting behind. So people are starting to see the value of trades. And I think that's really exciting because the trades are recession proof. They're a great job. You can make really good money. So I'm glad that that talk is starting to come back. There's a huge need for the people in the trades. So that's what I'm excited about. So what I'm doing with that is I believe in that and I believe in the trades. And I really want to grow our young people and give them opportunities. So what I did in my business was I opened a training facility. It's a live fire training facility, has all the units that we install, and the technicians could work on them, install them, we break them, they fix them. It shows what our quality is. And then I also hired a full-time trainer. And we go to the trade schools and we pull kids out from there. We interview them and see who's a good fit, and we bring them in and we continue to train them how we want them to be trained. And then we give them opportunities to stay with the company and grow their career. It's been really exciting for me to watch these young kids that are like 18 years old progress their career. And now we're in our second year of doing that and going into our third. To watch them start right out of high school, or some of them are still in high school that we're doing them with. And now they're in their own trucks and they're graduating the levels. We have someone now that's in a level two, is getting to ready to go to a level three tech. It's been rewarding for me. And I like that the trend is coming back to talk about the trades. There's a huge need for the trades and they're not going to go away. And I'm glad that they're not looked down upon anymore. Like, oh, you had to be a tradesperson. Now it's exciting to be a tradesperson. So I think that's a huge trend and I'm glad to see it. And that's what I've done to support it. And I think it's really important to keep doing that.
Well, I'm excited you're a tradesperson.
That's
That too. But for our listeners, can you give them a little bit of scope about the size or amount of employees you have? So when they hear about maybe a training facility that they might implement, that they kind of understand what scale that could be at.
right now we're at 60 employees. In the summertime, we get about 70 employees. I run about anywhere between 40 and 50 trucks on the road.
And
We
how,
serve a large area too.
yeah, how many trainees or say apprentices could you take on at a time?
So last summer we took on 5. And the year before that, I think we took it about, oh yeah, we're talking about 5 a year. And when one graduates through, depending on how fast they get through, we always try to keep replacing them. So we're trying, yeah, about 5 we're doing a year. And it helps grow our own workforce. Now, not all 5 always survive. You got to realize that they're kids. And we're also teaching them not just the trade, but how to be an adult in the workforce. Like you need to come to work every day on time, right? Things like that. You need to be responsible for yourself. So not everybody makes it because some people are like, oh, I have to come to work every day. Yes. So we usually wind up about in the end about three to four people make it. So
I
yeah,
I love the word you used. They didn't survive. They didn't survive the industry or
yeah, and
adulting. They didn't survive adulting.
they did not survive adulting, which we thought they weren't going to survive the industry because people, you think like you're in HVAC, you have to know that it's going to be hot. You're going to be in, confined spaces, and we would think that we would lose people for that. No, it was more for just being an adult. We've lost people, unfortunately.
And there's a whole side of the industry that I think people dismiss that there still is those soft skills that you have to develop or
Mhm.
sales skills, even though you are, working with your hands or in a specific trade, that it takes a lot to really be a successful company in the industry because you have to pay attention to all those different details in managing the business.
Yeah, and that's something that we teach them too. We are teaching them the technical side, but part of their training is soft skills, is learning how to talk to people and presenting options, things of that sort.
Well, with the size of your company, I'm sure there's a lot of titles that are given, but beyond just a title, what do you think makes and defines a great leader?
Being a leader is hard, and I went through a lot of iterations of what a leader is, and I really think I found my stride in the last few years, and that is really communicating your vision. What is your vision for the company? And letting everybody know that, because the company really is an extension of yourself, right? Of who you are. And telling your not just your management team but all your employees like what is your vision, where are we going, what are my values, because I want my values to be your values. So it's really creating that culture, and if you could create that culture and get that buy-in, people are going to follow you because you're being authentic to yourself and what you want. And if you really, it's hard to communicate and have all those meetings and put yourself out there. But that's what I've learned has been our biggest driver is everyone right now is pulling for my vision and going to battle for me, which is amazing. That's what's really hitting our stride and helping us really grow. And because people want to follow me and people, so my managers want to follow me, and then their employees want to follow them. So that's what I've really learned is really what is your vision, communicating it, being open and honest, and being true to yourself.
Yeah, I just keep hearing in my head, like, follow the leader, right?
Yeah.
We're told to do that at a young age, but I mean, it's true. You follow the people that are strong leaders. And I even heard it said this week that you're not a leader until you've created another leader, right? So, just passing down your vision and getting the buy-in, so that you're kind of walking lock and step into, the representation of who your company is, which is ultimately yourself. So I love that.
Yeah, so take the time to like write down what is your vision, what is your values, and that's what we do. Like we are at a point now where you could walk up to any employee and say, "What are our values?" and they're going to list them off. So right, so that means they bought into them, they understand them. Uh, It takes a lot of work and you have to know what they are, right? You have to know, use yourself to know what they are, and you need to write them down and believe in them and live them every day, and then let your managers know what they are as well, right? And have them buy in. So you want to keep going. It's a lot to do what we do as leaders. So you have to believe in one in yourself.
Yeah, it's more than just words, you know.
More than
So
just words, correct?
and words matter, but you can definitely tell when a company, when you have buy-in from, the full staff and the company behind a mission that, it speaks for itself and it leaves clues out in the world too, right? With your technicians in a home or how you speak and engage on social media, all that really comes back to who the company is. And if you can speak with one strong voice and tell that story, boy, how successful you can be for sure. Well,
Yeah.
I know you've shared with us that you've done a lot of work with students. You've worked in the state to really align, that licensure to be really beneficial to the HVAC industry. What have you done that really has helped empower women or girls that are coming up in this trade?
So right now, I really try to give every opportunity that I can to, if I see women in the trades that apply, give them the opportunity for the interview. That's really hard. I didn't realize how hard it was until I had a girl plumber apply and I interviewed her and she thanked me for the interview. She said that she could not even get interviewed because she was a woman. She was actually told that they didn't want to hire a girl plumber or woman plumber. So that really just changed my perspective. I was like, wow. So anytime I see the opportunity and when I go to the trade schools or applicants, I make sure they get in front of me or in front of the HR person or the manager. I give them the opportunity. Now, they have to pass the interview and have the skills to move on, but I want to be able to give them the opportunity, the seat at the table, because I don't think a lot of times they're getting given that shot. So that's what I'm really doing to support that. My warehouse manager just told me he happened to go to a supply house. He had to go and he had our company uniform on and he was standing there and another contractor was there with him. And he said, "Oh, you work for Bovio Rubino?" And he said, "Yeah." And he goes, "Oh, that company's just going down the tubes. I don't know what you guys are doing over there." And he just looked at him. He's like, "All right." He's like, "Yeah." He's like, "All I do is I see all these young people in your trucks. It's crazy." He goes, "And you know what else?" He's like, "I even saw a woman driving your truck." And I was like, so my point is getting these people in front of me is so important because you have a contractor who's like, wow, you even had a woman like that. Women wouldn't even have the opportunity to get in front of him to show him what they can do. So I want to make sure I'm giving the opportunity. And that's just not for technicians. Um, Obviously for technicians it is, but even over the summertime, I'm sure as many people do, they staff up in the summer for parts runners, warehouse, those types of positions, seasonal. Over the summer, I had my daughter back there. I had our warehouse manager daughter back there, and I had two other girls. So, and they're in the warehouse. I wanted to give them the opportunity to, they could do it too, right? Um, and they were really good, by the way. They were better than the guys. They worked really hard. Yeah, just to give them the opportunity at the table in any position in the company. That's what I've been looking
Well,
at.
I'm sure there's a little part of you that was boiling when you heard that response. And then that other side that was like, oh, well, yeah, I'll take advantage of all the things you're overlooking and
Hmm.
act all because
Right.
clearly you're missing the point of the value and the success that he could have in his
Yeah.
business, only given it a chance.
Yeah, and I was boiling. I'm thinking he must not even know that a woman owns the company for him to even say that. He would have been really boiling if he heard that. He would have shocked.
Yeah, let him keep believing that
Yeah.
it's not well while you're enjoying all the success.
Uh-huh.
Like, we're not sharing the secret to the sauce here.
Yeah.
Well, I know that, there's different leaders that have kind of influenced any of our lives, right? But what would you say is the best career advice you've received from a leader?
I've had a lot of different people support me along the way, and I have been very fortunate that that had happened to me at a very young age. When I took over the business, I had one of the biggest HVAC companies that our competitor of ours just really took an interest in me and put me under his wing. So I've had that from a young age. Even through now, I've had a lot of different owners and leaders just really support me and help me believe in myself. So I can't really say there was one piece of advice that somebody said this one profound thing to me that just really, really, pushed me to the next level. But having those people support me and really believe in myself when I didn't think I could go on, especially early on, it's really hard. When I was young, I first took over. I didn't know anything. I didn't have any I I didn't feel like I had support, and then finding that support and someone believing in me, and I felt that having all these mentors and strong people in my life is what really enabled me to believe in myself because they believed in me. Really was what I feel's helped me best in my career, knowing that I can do it and not and just seeing the future of what not only seeing the future, them seeing what they saw in me and telling me that, like, I see that you're doing this. I see you. And that really gave me the confidence and inspired me.
That's great. Just the it coming from a peer in essence is, a really strong influencer. We do have a comment, so I'm gonna pause and let's check it out. Ooh, it's a good one. So Darlene says, I'm an employee turned owner. Seeing another woman owning her place in HVAC with strength, skill, and heart means so much. Thanks for sharing and showing what's possible for all of us. My daughters help out too when they are home from college and run circles around some of us guys.
Thank you, darling. Yeah, I appreciate that. You could do it. There's so much opportunity in this field, and yeah, having the strength to do it. If you have that, you could do anything. And the girls do run around the guys and out there. It's great.
And Angela, you coming in, you came in when your dad probably didn't have the ability to give you the example, right? Because he had gone through something very traumatic and really needed you to jump in suddenly. So how would you say that your previous experience in college, getting, your MBA in marketing helped you transition into being a business owner?
So at the time, the the business degree just helped me understand business, general business stuff like P&Ls and what is marketing and what are, logistics and accounting, just basic information like that. So the business degree just helped me in general understand business and management. So that was the biggest thing. And then outside of going to college, just working somewhere else that was not the business really helped me understand what I wanted my business to be. I worked for a really large defense contractor and I was just a number. And I said, I don't want that for myself. And I realized I'm going to create a business where that's never going to be that way. So I worked really hard at making a company, even though that we're 60 employees, I know everybody. You're just not a number here. Having that family feel still at a larger place and having those good benefits. Um, so that's what I learned before I came back into the business. And it's really helped me create the business that I want it to have today.
That's wonderful. And I can't remember what year it started, but the company had been in existence for quite some time, even before, right?
Yeah, so my dad started the business in 1974. So it was before I was even born. And he started it just doing it on the side, as I'm sure a lot of, people had or parents have, just running on the side, and then eventually got big enough where he went full time. So he did that, to 19, from 1974. Again, I told you I worked throughout the summer, and I came back in 2005, January of 2005 is when I came back into the business. I ran it and grew the business, and then in 2021, I actually merged my business with a competitor as to fight private equity. As everybody knows, private equity is huge in our space and it's ever growing. So our second largest competitor got bought out by our largest competitor. to make one giant competitor, right? Um, and of course, there's tons of other companies were doing it. So I said to a competitor of mine, I said, why don't we do something different? Why don't we merge and and make that our scale, right? And we're, had overlapping territories, same brand we installed, family company. We had a lot of similarities. So we merged. That really gave us a huge competitive edge and really catapulted us into the next level of where we're at today. I am currently the one running the business at this point, and I have for the last few years. But that was a huge challenge. So if anybody wants to merge, I would have tons of advice and time to spend with you. It's good, but it's a huge lift. It's the biggest lift and hardest work I've ever had to do. It was worth it, but it was very hard.
Would you still have done it, kind of having gone through the experience of it now?
Yes, it was probably the smartest business decision I've made. And it was a huge
That's great.
risk. I am not a big risk taker. I always like gotta analyze stuff and I'm scared. I'm gonna make sure I make the right decision. So that was very out of character for me, taking that big risk, but it paid off.
That's a wonderful story. And I'm sure there's going to be so many questions just in that arena. So I want to take a minute and see if our audience tonight has any questions about that. If you have any questions about her previous story that she shared, or something that we haven't asked her that you want to hear a little bit more about while we have the time with Angela tonight. So I'm going to give everyone a minute. And while I'm giving everyone a minute to do that, I'm just going to ask you, Angela, if there's one thing that you want our listeners to remember from this conversation tonight, what would it be? What would you reiterate that everyone can take back with them?
Really believing in yourself. I think it can be hard and it can be overwhelming, especially as women. We put a lot pressure on ourselves. I'm a wife, I'm a mother, I'm a business owner. We want to do it all, and it could seem overwhelming, but just believing in yourself and you can do it. It's really the most important thing, and really finding that strength to do it and not letting others put their opinions on you. You just be the strong person that you are.
I like that. Someone earlier had even said that, hold on, I'm going back to it, that other people's opinions are none of their business, I think is what was said. And I really
Yeah.
like just keeping that mindset of strength and resilience and what you're capable of doing is so important. And then sharing that, just like you tonight, sharing your story with other women that maybe have some situations that are very similar to yours, or maybe just few of the pieces are, but
Mhm.
that they can gain from that, or at least say, okay, here's one direction I could go. What's another possible spinoff or reach out that maybe they wouldn't have thought of because they hadn't heard the experience or the situation. So you never know what's going to motivate a different individual when you share your story.
Mhm.
All right. So I do have a question. Let's see. From Anne. What vertical markets do you focus on, i.e., residential or commercial? If commercial, how do you separate your company from the competition? What are your top three values and what is your vision? And we can break that up. I know I
Okay,
read it all.
so my vertical, so we're residential and we do light commercial. Our business is about 90% residential, so I have a very small commercial piece. We do heating, air conditioning, and plumbing is what our business is. So that was her first part of the question. What was her next part of the question? So I can't really answer the commercial piece because we don't do really commercial.
How do you separate your company from the competition?
It's a good question. So it's really what our tagline is what we put out there is we're honest like nobody's business. So we live that day in day. It's in all our marketing, it's everywhere. I'm not saying other people aren't honest, but we're really putting it out there that we have that integrity and that respect that, and we're honest 100% of the time. And that's what we live through and through. And I'm also going to really be marketing next year. As you said, Amy, I did win Top Women in HVAC this year, which I was so excited. I cannot believe I won. I was really, really taken back that I was able to achieve that. But I thought it made me think, like, what makes us different then? So being women owned is different. So let's market it. So that's what we're really going to start to differentiate ourselves as well. Keeping that, yes, we're honest and we have integrity. But yeah, that we're women owned too. So I'm really going to start taking that and really putting it out there because that's what makes us different. What
And
makes
I'm
us
curious,
special?
was the company that you partnered with or merged with, was that also women owned?
No, it was not. But this company is women owned because I own the majority of the shares. So we are women, still women owned.
That's amazing. Well, definitely preach it.
Yeah.
Say it from scream
Mhm.
it from the rooftops. So the next question she had was, what are your top three values?
Always do what is right. That is part of our values. We always do what is right. Um, we support each other in a positive, encouraging way. So that's part of our culture. So that way everybody feels valued here and they want to come to work. And we always want to meet and exceed expectations.
And then finally, she said, what's your vision?
My vision is to become the largest residential HVAC company in South Jersey. Is really my vision. That's really where I want to go. I want to keep capturing more and more of the market. I want to just keep rising to the top. I really feel that we could do it.
Well, I'm convinced. I'm already following. So while we were going through those questions, Eileen said, everything you've shared, I've either known another woman who's experienced the same thing or have myself. Thank you for being so open. And Anne said, nice to the questions that you answered for her. And Jennifer said, I want to come work for Angela.
Oh, thank you, everybody. So what Eileen said, like she's experienced and other people have experienced it. I just really hope, like when I talked about that guy who interviewed me for the podcast, that we get to a place at some point soon where, our daughters don't have to experience it as much as we have. Like that's what I really hope to get to. And we have all had experience that, and I think it's made us as women stronger, especially in a lot of the positions we're in. It helped get us to where we need to be and made us strong. But I really hope that our daughters don't have to go through the same thing or the next generation doesn't, right? Like that they could just be themselves and not have to worry about the noise to be great
Yeah.
leaders.
You wonder how much more you can accomplish when that's off of your plate, right?
Right, not have to have that worry and that expectation. I mean, I even see it, the expectation of me as a woman owner is way different than a man. And it really, really hit me because after we merged, so when we first merged, he was in the business, and I would watch how people treated him differently than me. It was not even treated him, was the expectation of what they wanted from me, how different it was from him. Um, and I never really realized that. And and that still bothers me a little bit even today, even though I'm the only one here. Like, because when people ask me stuff, I'm like, that's because I'm a woman. They're asking me that, or questioning me that, or want that from me. You know, um, the fact that I know what I want, and I walk forcefully down the hall. Oh, they're scared. I'm like, well, you won't be scared of a man walk forcefully down the hall, right? Like, it's because I'm a woman. It's just like it's really interesting with the expectations that are there. And if you didn't have all that noise, if you could just be yourself, where could you be? If you could just flush that out.
Yeah. And we know you're on your way to being the largest HVAC company in South New Jersey, but are there any other big things that we should be following that you're getting into in the coming years?
I really like that training center that we have. It's been a big was this an expense? It's something that I thought we need to do, but it's also brought me a lot of joy. of watching, I said the young people grow, and something that I'm doing next year. So we do community outreach every year. So that's been really important to me for the last few years. We really built that into our culture, to a lot of grassroots community involvement. And every year we pick a different charity and we really focus in on that. And next year is going to be working with young women leaders. And part of that, I'm gonna start working. We're going to vet some people to be able to apply, where they're going to have monthly leadership meetings with me, young women that are like high school or early college. And that's what I'm really excited about that, helping these young women succeed in the world. So that's my next venture that I'm working with as part of my community outreach. And it's brought me a lot of joy. I'm glad I'm in a place in my career now where I'm able to give back and have the time to do so.
That's wonderful. Well, I can't wait to regroup with you in the future and hear how that endeavor has turned out and success stories from it. But as we wrap up tonight, do you have any last words of encouragement? Are there different social channels that people should follow you on? Just give us your final thoughts and how we can stay in touch.
So I really appreciate you having me on here, Amy. It's been great. This is the first year that I've really been part of Women in HVAC. And I would just like to say I went to the conference in Vegas. I was there, and I have been to so many conferences over the years. I mean, I'm in the industry a long time, so I've been to a lot of conferences, and I got to a point where like I'm just not going anymore. It's the same stuff over and over again. People check out, nobody pays attention. I didn't want to put my energy there anymore. So I did go to the Women HVAC one. I won the awards. I'm like, yeah, I'll go. I'll check it out. I must say that that was so energizing and so refreshing. The content that was there, the people that were around, it really was something that I'm so happy that I went to and to be a part of. So I'm really thankful for this opportunity to be able to speak to everyone and be a part of this organization. And I think organizations like this, where you have strong people around you that are like-minded, really help drive you even further and open your eyes to the possibilities, what's there. And I've always had people around me that were men that did this, right? There really wasn't women in HVAC, 20 years ago. There was nothing, it was just men. And you had these struggles and nobody understood or nobody saw it like you did. So it was great to be able to be around people. Like, Eileen said, she had the same thing. You're like, yes, I know. It's great. Like you have someone you can relate to. So, just being a part of this is really great, and it's remembering, use your support system around you, because I think it's really helpful. And I wish I had a group like this when starting out. It would have helped me quicker to get to where I am. So that's, definitely that. If you want to reach out to me, my email address is angela@bovio-rubino.com. We have a Facebook channel, Bovio Rubino Service, Instagram. If you want to look me up personally on Facebook, it's Angela Rubino Hines. You're more than welcome to reach out to me in any of those ways, and I'd be more than happy to chat at any which way you would like to.
Wonderful. Well, it's definitely been a pleasure to speak with you tonight, Angela. I'm so honored to call you one of our members at Women in HVACR. Your story is definitely going to lead quite a few people, and I cannot wait to continue to hear it and continue to see the success and have you part of our organization, just sharing that positivity and you as a leader in our community. So thank you again. It was such an honor as part of Women in HVACR. And, just a reminder to everyone that your title might be where you start, but it's your journey that sets you apart. So thanks for going behind the title tonight with Angela and I. And I can't wait to hear from you again in the future. Hope
Thank
everyone
you.
has a great night.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.